Hi friends, this is Caitlin and welcome back to my channel. It is officially the most wonderful time of the year, and by that I mean it's time to start working on Halloween. We've officially made it past the 4th of July, and so in my book and in my family, it's Halloween time. So I thought to jump in, I would take it a little bit easy and go with a more summery Halloween kind of vibe. So we're going Pinkoween, which is a thing. Not everybody loves the pastel Halloween or pink and orange Halloween, but I think it's fun and I love traditional Halloween just as much. But if you're going to do Halloween from July all the way through October, I think it's fun to change up your color scheme sometimes. So I started out by trimming down my Copic Express-It paper. This is going to be my little mini scene on the inside. And I'm going to start by stamping out my Carve Out Some Fun? I think that's what it's called. The Sweet November Stamps pumpkin set. I'll have everything listed down in the description below for you guys. I love this set because it's great for all of fall and Halloween and Thanksgiving and whatever else you need it for. Those pumpkins are so cute on their own, or you can choose to add the faces to them. You can make them sweet, you can make them spooky, you can make them very silly. So I'm going to be using all 5 for my little pumpkin scene. And when I'm stacking things, I find that it's easier for me to stack everything, and whatever I want to be closest to me goes on top. I close my MISTI door and let it pick up whatever stamps are the closest to me physically on the pile. Then I take everything else away. I'm adding in my masks, and then I'll pop my bigger pumpkins in so that they'll appear to be further back. You always want to work from the closest to you to the furthest in the back. And I did already have these masks cut out. These are just on full stick Post-it notes. Anytime that I fussy cut out masks, I try to keep my little masks attached to the packaging in my stamp set. How many times can I say mask in a row, right? That's how I feel. I'll stop. So once I had all of my little pumpkins stamped out there, I decided to go in with a couple faces. I didn't want to make them all jack-o'-lanterns. I wanted to keep some just pumpkins. But I hand stamped these because they're pretty simple and pretty small. And so this big guy got this bigger, kind of cheesier grin. And then the smaller little pumpkin there in the front is going to get this very silly little face. And I love how kind of wide that smile is. So cute. So I'm going to color in this scene with some YGs for my grass. And I'm just starting out by creating a really soft shadow around them, kind of pulling the shadow out to the sides, especially over there on the left, just to kind of break it up and show some of that dimension between that smaller pumpkin and the larger one. And these pumpkins are going to be colored in a pretty different way. My shadow placement is the same on my pumpkins. I've figured out a style that I really love, but the color choices I made were definitely different for this one. So if you're up for trying something different, definitely take note of the color choices. And if you aren't so sure about pink and white pumpkins, by all means, just pay attention to my shadow placement and use that with whatever oranges or browns or greens you want. So I'm starting out with pink. I decided to go with my R80s. I like to emphasize the artist drawn lines that are already coming from the top and the bottom. And I like to also add a tight U shape and kind of like an N or an upside down U right to the center section. I think that gives a really nice definition of that kind of lobe. I'm not sure that that's the word, but that's what I'm going to use. That segment of the pumpkin. And then with my medium shade, that R83, I'm going to start pulling and connecting those lines all together from the top and the bottom. And then my R81 is going to fill everything in. And when I first went over this, I felt like it did kind of wash out. That 81 has a lot of colorless blender in it. So I did go back in with the 85 and the 83 to kind of bring that texture back. But that's also totally fine. You can always go back in and relayer your colors. So for this one, this is my other pink one. I decided to lay down that R81 first, just all over, just a blanket of color. Now you can see I'm emphasizing those artist drawn lines again first. Then I'll add my U's to the top and the bottom of that center section. Connect all of that, connect those lines together with my medium shade and start pulling out the color in the center. And then go back with that 81 just lightly here and there to make sure I don't have any harsh lines. And that is the same steps we're going to do for all of the pumpkins. It's just now we're swapping out colors. So for this one, I still tried a different orange combo than I usually do. So we're going with YR09 to start, then jumping up to YR68. Those two are a combo that I use in general for my oranges a lot. I love how they work together. I love how like bright and true it is. Then I went to YR04, which is also not something super new and strange for me, but it's the last color that we pull in that's going to kind of make a difference. It gives kind of a peachier color, and I really like how it turned out. So yeah, the same steps as before, and this is that YR02. And it just kind of is this like peachy, kind of buttery, like really soft orange. And I just really love how it fills in all of the highlights there. So yeah, just don't be afraid to try different combinations and see what you like. And there's no rules, because maybe in this world that I'm coloring, there are pink pumpkins. You never know. So for my white pumpkins, I'm going in with W4 first, my warm grays. I like to do a combination of warm grays and kind of soft E markers for these kind of creamy pumpkins. I do have my own little pumpkin patch started this year. I have a garden, and so I grabbed 2 little mini pumpkin plants, and I'm training them to grow up a trellis, which has been very interesting. But so far I do have 2 really cute little pumpkins growing. They're already very orange. So we'll see how the rest of the summer goes with making sure they stay healthy and keep going. But yeah, so this kind of pumpkin on the left hand side is definitely a different kind of shape. It's a little more gourd like. So I'm doing the same steps with those same E and W markers, just kind of curving and contouring my lines to fit the shape of the pumpkin. So I wanted to go in with that E81 right off the bat, just to start kind of making a map for myself and make sure that I liked where this was headed before I kind of went in and committed with everything else too, and then blended that out with some W00. For the stems, I kept them all the same, I just thought it was easier. So I went with some E70s, kind of a little purpley brown to play off of the pink colors. I don't know. Seemed like the right choice to make at the time. And I shaded in the inside of the eyes and the smiles with some very dark W markers. Again, kind of just trying to stay in this warm color story in general. Because I used the W's for those 2 creamier pumpkins, I just thought it would make sense to stick with them for the insides. So I went in with W9, W7, and then brought in just a little bit of W5. I do like having a little bit of variation inside of them, so you kind of can tell that there's some depth and that they're rounded out, but you do whatever makes you happy. For my sentiment, I figured if I've already gone far enough to make some pink pumpkins, a little glitter couldn't hurt. So I'm grabbing my Pinkoween embossing setup, right? So I have my anti-static powder tool brush that I treated my cardstock with. I used my embossing ink to ink up that sentiment from the Pick of the Patch stamp set from Sweet November Stamps. And then I went in with Sherbert glitter embossing powder from Pinkoween, which is very beautiful. It has a beautiful gold shimmer to it. But what I will tell you is, can you see how my stamp is still on the Misty Door? Thank goodness that I left it there. I don't always leave them there, and I know I should for this exact reason, but my sentiment wasn't standing out as boldly as I wanted. I don't think there was a problem with the stamping or I did anything wrong. It just didn't look as bold as I wanted it to be. So once I had my embossing powder melted, I just stamped it and added more embossing powder and melted it again. And the second time was perfect. And because I left my stamp on the Misty door, I didn't have to worry about trying to line anything up or being stressed if it didn't match or anything like that. So if you can remember to, leave your stamp on your Misty door until you are sure that you are done with that part of your project. I did fussy cut out the top of my pumpkins all the way across. I thought it would just be fun to have kind of a different background poking out behind them. I'm not sure that I love the exact background I ended up with, but I'll tell you more about that in a second. I did add some little white highlights and dots to their eyes, and then I went in with a water-based black marker and just edged all the way around the parts that I fussy cut to make sure that you can't see any of the white cardstock showing through the back or the sides in case I didn't cut perfectly against those stamped outline. I'm going in with some Distress wood grain white paper, and then these two pattern papers. One is old, My Favorite Things, and the other one is a really fun gingham from This Calls for Confetti. I'll have that orange gingham, that's paper pad, linked in the description for you if you want to check it out. The whole paper pad is like Pinkoween. It's really cute. So I cut both of those pattern papers with my Pink and Main stitched rectangle frames die, so it just makes all of these layers of stitched frames and they all line up close together. So I did the orange gingham around the outside, then I added the pink polka dot and right on top of that wood grain, and then my little pumpkin scene is going to fit perfectly inside that pink. And this is where I'm not sure I made the best decision. So I decided to go in with some orangey yellowy ink. This is the construction ink from Pink and Main, because I just thought the white was too white. So then I thought it was too orange, and I went in with a microfiber and just kind of started wiping some of that color away. So it is a little more muted. I don't dislike it. I just don't know if it was the right choice. I'm torn. I think maybe leaving the white wood grain was enough, but I do kind of like the little orangey glow from behind it. I don't know. You tell me in the comments what you think. Should I have left it, or do you like the orange glow? And then to really send the whole girly Halloween vibe all the way, I added some pink, orange, and white sequin confetti to these in the upper left and lower right corners, and that brings this whole little Pinkoween card front together. So this is an A2 panel. It'll fit right on top of a side folding A2 size card, 5.5 by 4.25. And I just hope that this encourages you to start getting ready for fall. And even if you're not ready, you can still play around with some fun color combinations. And I hope that you have a great week. I will see you back here soon. And until next time, happy crafting.